This is my favorite play of my NBA career because George Niang is my best friend, and I want him to see it every time it gets played. Did you like that play?
Tyrese, appreciate you joining us. You have a lot of good plays in your young career, but the first one that I remember is your dagger against the Bulls.
A must-defend possession. It's Haliburton. He's been the big shot maker for Sacramento tonight. Wow.
What was your thought process here? Because you were a young player. Were you expecting to get the ball?
Well, honestly, De'Aaron I think he got hurt, so he didn't play the whole second half at least, maybe the whole second quarter. So it literally felt like all the decisions, everything was up to me for the majority of the game. So, and there was a little added to it, right? The Bulls had the fourth pick. I had a really good workout for them, and they obviously went a different direction. So there was a little added to it. Like when De'Aaron went out, I was a little like, oh, like I really get to go against these guys. So it was a lot of fun. This shot kind of was something I got to a lot my rookie year, the shot fake, sidestep, falling baseline. They always used to mess with me in the sack and call that, every time somebody shoot a fadeaway to the baseline, they'd yell my name. After I made it, I don't even remember what I said, anything. I was saying a lot of things after. I was just very passionate about it. It was a really fun time for me early in my career to kind of get that confidence boosting game to make me really feel like I fit in the NBA.
Some guys, they're not good at dealing with pressure at the end of games. Was that something that you ever faced? Maybe even, in the early days, middle school, high school, where you had to kind of learn to play in big moments?
I think it's just, from when I was little, it was always like, the best players always like late in the game, they wanted the ball in their hands. So for me, it was like, I embraced that moment. Even when I do miss that shot, like it still means a lot that I took it. You know what I mean? That I had the confidence to put it up. And you just, you live and you learn from it.
Now, the hezzy against the Raptors, I feel like this is your most underrated play. Walk me through this here.
If I remember correctly, there was a couple times where I tried to flip it back off the ball screen and I wasn't getting anything. So I knew that if I stopped, Fred would jump. And what Buddy does is being one of the best shooters in the league. People don't leave him. So no matter what, the biggest emphasis is to be with Buddy. So you see here, he is thinking, I got to get back to Buddy. And Fred's trying to stop the flip back pass. So they're not really worried about me. Rico Hines always, our assistant coach, always is yelling about Duncan. Like, whatever happened to Duncan? Like, nobody dunks anymore, blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't necessarily call this a body, but if somebody else does, I'll take it. This was kind of my first dunk with somebody in the picture. Like I was like, oh yeah, this feels nice right here.
Do you have it hanging on your wall anywhere?
I do not. I do not. But Harrison Barnes always messes with me about this. When I grew up in Wisconsin, like I don't know how every time Aaron Baines played against Giannis, like Giannis dunks on him, right? So I was like, I'm gonna dunk on Aaron Baines tonight. Harrison was like, shut up, Tyrese. He's like, no, I'm gonna dunk on Aaron Baines tonight. So it's a funny little tidbit. Like he always messes with me about it because it was like, it just happened. Like I was completely joking. Like I didn't really have many dunks at this point in my career. Even still to this day, I don't have a ton of dunks, but it was like, it just happened.
Was there a player you emulated your game after when you were growing up?
I wouldn't say anybody in specifically. Like LeBron was my favorite player growing up, but obviously we played two completely different games. I used to stay up late just to watch, CP and Steph on the West Coast, kind of that middle school, high school time. I just watched a lot of basketball growing up, to be honest with you, and just took bits and pieces from multiple different people. It's allowed me to kind of put it all into one and be who I am.
We have James Harden and Kyrie Irving giving you advice. And I feel like this is really rare. You don't really see James and Kyrie in particular speaking to everybody. What did they say to you? And what was that moment like?
Yeah, so this was probably one of my best games of my rookie year. And it's funny because we played James in one of his last games when he was in Houston still, and played him again when he was with Brooklyn at home. They beat us pretty bad. So James had never even acknowledged me before. Like he never said anything to me, right? Obviously we lost, but he pulled me aside after the game and just talked to me about the consistency, in the league, being consistent on a night-to-night basis, and how that's going to take my career to a different level. Like anybody can do it one night, but you got to be able to do it over and over to get the respect from, your peers and everybody else. So that meant a lot. And then Kyrie, we were just talking more about life. I grew up, like I said, a LeBron fan. So, when he was in Cleveland, I had the Kyrie jersey. I watched all the Cavs games. So Kyrie is a big inspiration to me, like watching him, but also who he is as a person, the things that he cares about, those are, and how he's passionate about certain things. I admire that. I admire that he stands by what he believes in. So for us, we were just talking more. He talked about watching me get drafted, being with my dad, and how that, was important to him and his dad to see, black men embrace each other, the way me and my dad did on draft night. So it meant a lot to talk to Kai about some different things. And to this day, we have a really good relationship. We talk, through social media sometimes, we text from time to time. So Kyrie's like, great, mentor for me to have, a guy that I can, pick his brain and talk to. And every time I see James, it's still like, we don't talk on the court. It's like a head nod before the game, but we always talk after the game. So just two guys who, are at the peak of the game of basketball, two of the greatest players, that I've ever watched, two of the greatest players that I've ever played the game of basketball. So for them to see something in me, it means a lot.
Who's given you the best advice in the league so far?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm just trying to think. I wouldn't say anything in specific, but Harrison Barnes really took me as and he was kind of, my vet. We still talk on a daily basis. So just like the life lessons that I've gotten from Harrison, just picking his brain about so many different things. Obviously the basketball side of things, he's won a championship, he's won at a high level. But then also the life aspect, just the person he is, the man he is, the father he is, how he manages his money and just things like that.
And then there was a moment, shout out to JJ Redick in his podcast. I think this is the moment you reference where Kyrie in transition shot a three and then James Harden was hyping him up. Could you remind me what he said?
He said, "Can I have this dance, Kyrie?" He said that when the ball was in the air.
Irving over Haliburton. Oh, yeah!
Kyrie had 40 this game. It was one of the most effortless 40 balls I've ever seen in my life. This is my first time playing Kyrie. And I was like, oh my, it's like this easy? Like basketball comes this easy to this guy?
Looking into this year's playoffs, we still have a few teams left. Who is the player that would most likely do this? And then who would be the teammate that is hyping him up while the ball is in the air?
Oh, that's a great... It's got to be the Grizzlies. The way that they talk on the floor, just enjoy seeing each other succeed. I think D-Bane would be the shooter. Ja would be the one talking. So I think those guys for sure, if anybody.
I love that. There is a happy ending to this because you played the Nets again and you have a really cool moment where you kind of get by KD and then throw it down. Is a lot of your stuff planned or are you just reacting to the defense?
No, I think it's just reacting. I think I was shooting it okay and I knew KD was kind of going to overrun the closeout. So, but I didn't think that that was going to be that open in the paint. So when I got there, it was like I had to dunk it. I didn't want to lay it up.
My favorite highlight of yours is the one against Damian Lee. And I feel like I should just get out of the way and let you break down everything you saw here and what you were thinking.
I think we ran a split action here, with Mezzi in the post. And I was shooting it well this game. So I think he had to close heavy. And then there was just kind of reacting. And the move wasn't anything crazy. I didn't think he was going to stumble. Once he did, I was like, okay, I got to get to the 3-point line to shoot this. I don't want to shoot a mid-range. And honestly, he didn't really touch me on the jumper, but I fell for kind of the dramatic effect. And they called the foul. So it just added to it. And it was obviously really exciting for our team. We didn't have any fans or anything to really go crazy or anything like that. But it's not often that you're going to see me drop a guy or mix a guy like this. So this is probably one of my favorite moments in the NBA so far.
Dwayne Wade and Steph Curry both told me that when they drop somebody, they immediately feel a crazy amount of pressure to hit the shot. And I'm curious, do you go through the same kind of mindset?
I mean, once that happens, it's like, well, I think there's I have to shoot it. You can't not shoot it regardless. Right. You have to shoot it. It's got to go in. It doesn't matter if it doesn't go in. The play honestly might not even be shown if it doesn't go in. So it definitely is a little bit of a pressure thing, but it's just basketball.
And then there's also a really nice play against the Sixers near the end of the game. This was so impressive to me. Are there moments where you impress yourself?
A little bit. I changed my answer. This is my favorite moment of playing my NBA career. because George Niang is my best friend. And I have yet to beat him in my NBA career, but this highlight's going to be played hopefully for the rest of my career. And I want him to see it every time it gets played. George's playing really good defense. It's just a tough shot. Like I said, in SAC, those guys kind of always mess with me about fading baseline. Like that's really become a shot that I'm really comfortable making. I was kind of like, I was really feeling myself this night.
Yeah, I'm curious, even before you got drafted, people talked about your shooting form. And some people said it would never translate to the NBA. But right now you have one of the best, 3-point percentages in the league. Was there ever a point where you thought about changing your form because of the criticism?
No, never in my life. I mean, it goes into the high level. I think there's obviously the adjustment of having to speed it up at times, having to jump higher to get it off against the bigger guys sometimes. Like I can get to my shot whenever I want. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not concerned with what people say. Like that doesn't really bother me. I feel like I shot over 40% for 4 years running now, dating back to college, really like 5, 6, 7 years if you go back to high school. So for me, it's about getting more attempts up now. Shooting over 40 in the mid 40s, like I want to be able to keep that with putting more attempts on it as well. So that's the biggest thing for me. But no, I've never really been concerned with what people have to say.
The trade, you've spoken about it so many times, so I don't want to revisit it over and over again. But what's been the biggest difference on the Pacers? All of your, counting numbers are higher, but even just looking at you, it just feels like the perfect fit.
Going to Indiana, I felt like I had a lot to prove. I feel like I've always had a lot to prove my whole life, but I feel like it just added more fuel to the fire, more so than anything. And when I got to India, it was, they came and talked to me from the jump. It was like, we want you to be aggressive. We want you to be the guy. We want you to go. In SAC, it somewhat felt like I was stepping on toes at times. So to be in India and kind of, just play basketball, be free, like that helped me a lot and kind of just let me have fun and just play basketball.
Most players talk about when they're in trade rumors or they get traded, sometimes they lose their confidence. I'm curious if the opposite happened to you, because when you looked at the reaction in the NBA or social media, like everyone was like, the Kings are crazy. Tyrese is so good. Why would you do this? And I'm curious if you saw that and you were like, yeah, I really am that guy. Like I am that good and I'm going to play like it.
Yeah. I mean, like the comments from the world, obviously, they were awesome to see. It was awesome to see that people, like my game, respect me as a player. But I mean, my confidence was, just came from myself, honestly. I was playing the best basketball in my career right before the trade deadline. My confidence was already through the roof. And when they traded me, it was just like, oh, okay, like now my motivation went up. So it just skyrocketed.
Do you think your passing is the most underrated part of your game? You're starting to become known for the look away passes.
I think I'm one of the best passers in the league. Mm-hmm. Like obviously we got the CPs and the Lucas of the world, and Ja and guys like that. But like I'm right there with them. Like I'm a high level passer. So I would hope that if it's underrated, then that means people aren't watching me play, because that's what I do best. So I have a lot of fun with it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just who I've been my whole life. This pass was obviously more deceptive to make guys go the other way. But I think that sometimes like you might see me throw it, like spin, Jason Williams, do something crazy. Like, yeah, that's just like basketball's entertainment. Like it's fun. Like I'm going to add that as much as I can. Like for me, like it's important to put different aspects and, it's always practicing different angles, different hands to pass with. Like my whole life, people have told me not to jump to pass. That's the go-to line for youth basketball. And I understand, but when people tell me that, it's honestly like, all right, you never watched me play before. It's like, I'm not gonna not do it. Like it gives me an advantage as a tall guard to, see over people, and make decisions in the air. Like I feel like I have different outlets. Now, obviously there's gonna be turnovers from time to time, but like you gotta take it to go with the bad sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Have you always been a good passer?
Yeah, my whole life. My whole life. I've always just wanted to pass the ball. So kind of learning. A lot of people, it's like they know how to score, and then passing kind of comes next. Like for me, it's different. Like I'm a natural passer. Like that's why you see me like sometimes like hell of a shot, swing it when I shouldn't. Like it's different for me. Like other guys have to learn when to make the right pass. For me, it's more learning about when to be aggressive and that balance. And that's been a learning curve, but I'm just trying to learn more every day.
Yeah, so is the key to being a good passer the right mentality, or is it something that you have that other players might not have?
I think the key to being a good passer is just knowing how to play the game. You know what I'm saying? Like knowing when you see two, who could be open, the right reads, just like studying the game of basketball, watching film and seeing like, okay, this pass was there, not this one. This is where the ball should go. And I think like I said, CP's the peak of the position. He's been the peak of the position for the last 10, 15 years now. He might run the same set time after time after time and hit a different read every time because he's just reading and reacting. He's not predetermining it. Same with Luka. Like, these guys run the same thing over and over and are able to get different shots for other guys. I think they just do a really good job of just reading and reacting and playing.
Speaking of reading and reacting, your off-ball defense is spot on. What are the keys to this?
In my past life, I was a safety. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just high school. We played 1-3-1 zone when I was in high school. So I think my senior year, I might have averaged like 5 or 6 steals a game on the wing of the 1-3-1 zone. So it's just always been part of who I was, is just being in the passing lanes and getting my hands on the ball. Growing up, like, I was, probably one of the better kids in my area. So like, playing against kids who might not be as good as me, like, I was just I learned how to bait kids at a young age. You know what I'm saying? Like, baiting to get the steal, to get the layup. So it's just kind of been a part of me my whole life.
Who's the best defender you've played against?
Best defender, like, all around, is Jrue Holiday. Jrue Holiday's the best defender in the league. He's just so strong, can guard multiple positions. But shout out to my guy, Davion Mitchell. He's right there, like, on-ball defense, like, one-on-one. Davion is right there with anybody.
I'm curious, what do you think is the best part of your game when you look at your shooting, your passing, your defense? Which sticks out the most to you?
I think the thing that sticks out most for me is the way that I pass the ball. But I think what separates me is just the joy that I play basketball with. I just have a lot of fun. Like, basketball is so fun to me, and like, I really genuinely love what I do. So just being able to put, my flair on things differently, it's always fun.
Last question for me. What's the biggest difference compared to when your first game as a rookie compared to now? How much better are you? What are you better at? And how do you view that player that, played his first game for the Kings, 2 years ago?
I think number one, confidence. My first game, like, I was very, like, intimidated. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen. When I say first game, I think more so back to my first preseason game against Portland. Like, I couldn't get the ball out of my hands fast enough. Like, I remember Jabari Parker passed the ball to me right when I checked in. I was wide open and I couldn't shoot it because my hands were shaking so bad. Where I'm at now, you know what I'm saying? Like, I just love playing and love being, on the court in front of the crowd. Like, that is so fun to me. I look forward to that. So, like, I would say, like, confidence is number one. I've obviously gotten stronger, more skilled in what I do. I think I shoot the ball better now. I'm more comfortable being a full-time point guard. When I was coming to the draft, there's a lot of questions. Could I be a full-time point guard in the NBA? And I felt like I could, but truly, where my skill was at the time, I probably couldn't have been. Like, if I would have got drafted to Detroit and asked to be the full-time point guard day one, it probably would have been tough for me. But where I'm at now, like, being able to play my rookie year, play with, a lead guard like De'Aaron and kind of, slowly, ease my way into it and then get traded and now be asked to do that. Like, I feel like I'm prepared for that.
Thank you so much for the insight. We're definitely doing this again because your future is very bright. So I can't wait to see how, much better you become as a basketball player. But Tyrese, thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.